Not an easy podcast to do, especially for me, a little under the weather here, but it would be a grotesque form of false advertising if we were to skip a week here on the Emerson College Polling Weekly Podcast. Post-analysis of the Alabama special election, joined by Professor Spencer Kimball. Spencer, your polls had the race tightening, a coin flip 1 week before the election, but Emerson was turning them out at a rate far higher than any other polling agency. The one that everyone remembers had Roy Moore in very good position. It ran on last Monday's episode. So what happened with that final poll?
Well, Larry, sometimes you got to eat a little humble pie. So when we take a look at that special election result, we see a turnout of 43% Republican, 37% Democrat, according to the exit polls. We were expecting a much higher Republican turnout, closer to about 50%, and a 32% Democratic turnout. And that's because that's what 2016 looked like in Alabama. And those were the type of turnout numbers we were seeing in the primary. Remember, Roy Moore wins the Republican primary by 10 points. Previously, when he had run in the Republican primary, he lost 2-1. So what we were seeing was a shift in the electorate going into the runoff between Jones and Moore. What ends up happening is there's a shifting of the sand underneath our feet, basically, where the electorate no longer was going to be a 50-32 because most likely the allegations against Moore of pedophilia. And so that shifted the playing field, and we didn't adjust our numbers to account for that. And so our polls consistently then would have Moore up by about 8 to 9 points higher than he actually was. So if you look back at all of our polls, you'd see that our final poll would have put Jones up by 2 had we used the proper turnouts in the runoff.
Is it possible to learn a lesson or lessons from this one?
Well, certainly you learn lessons on turnout, and you want to make sure that you have the right turnout there as far as who's going to vote in the election. But probably a bigger lesson to learn about what we can take away from this election and apply it to 2018 was really that African-American turnout in the central part of the state and even in the southwestern part of the state. That would be called the Obama coalition. And frankly, there was a higher turnout in this special election of African-Americans than there were in 2012 for Obama. So this potentially could show the Democrats a pathway in the future of rekindling that coalition. Because if you recall, the Obama coalition really didn't carry in 2010 or 2014. It really only worked for Obama. However, in this case, it appeared to work pretty well for Doug Jones. And this could be a new route for Democrats to take in the midterms elections next year.
The blueprint. Well, thank you, Professor Spencer Kimball. Christmas morning next Monday. I said, we'll be here. Whether you celebrate or not, we will be back here in this space. So, subscribe to Emerson College Polling Weekly on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media Network mobile app.